If you're in the business of restoring wood, listen up. There's a technology out there that's poised to completely change how you work, saving you a ton of time and, honestly, a lot of money on every single job. We're talking about laser varnish removal. And today, we're going to dive into how it works, why it blows the old methods out of the water, and what it really means for your bottom line.
So let me ask you a question. Are you still doing things the old way? I mean, if you're in the restoration business, you've definitely had those moments wondering if there's a better way. All those hours spent sanding, the mess, those chemical fumes. It's a really tough part of the job that just eats up your time and your profit.
You know, let's just be honest with ourselves. The traditional methods are kind of broken. Sanding is just painfully slow, it takes a ton of manual labor, and you're always one slip away from accidentally damaging that beautiful wood grain. And then you've got chemical strippers. Ugh, they're messy, they fill your shop with toxic fumes, and then you have to just stand around and wait. Plus, with both methods, you're constantly buying sandpaper, chemicals, all these consumables. And those costs, they really add up over time.
But what if you could just get rid of almost all of those headaches in one go? Well, that's exactly where laser technology comes in. It's the modern solution that directly tackles the biggest pain points of varnish removal, head on.
The science behind it all is something called laser ablation. Now, that sounds complicated, but it's actually pretty simple. The laser just uses a super-focused beam of light to literally vaporize the varnish right off the surface. It turns it from a solid into a gas, leaving the wood underneath totally untouched.
And what's really wild is how fast this all happens. I mean, we're talking nanoseconds. First, the varnish absorbs the laser's energy. Then, boom, it vaporizes instantly. And at the same time, a tiny little shockwave blasts away any leftover particles. Because it's so incredibly fast, heat has zero time to soak into the wood, and that's the absolute key to preventing any damage.
Now, it's really important to know that not all lasers are created equal for this job. For wood, you have to use a pulsed laser. It works by delivering energy in these really short, powerful bursts. It's delicate, it's precise, and it doesn't burn the wood. A continuous wave laser, on the other hand, is basically a constant beam of energy, kind of like a blowtorch. It's great for blasting thick rust off a piece of steel, but it would be an absolute disaster on a priceless antique.
So how does this new tech actually stack up against the methods you're probably using right now? Let's put them side by side and see what happens.
And when you lay it all out like this, the difference is it's night and day. Look at this. Across speed, safety, cost, environmental impact, the laser is just in a completely different league. We're talking about a massive cut in your project time, almost zero risk to the wood, and your only real ongoing cost is a tiny bit of electricity. No more toxic sludge, no more clouds of sawdust.
Just let this one sink in for a second. A piece of furniture that takes a full 8-hour workday to sand can be completely stripped in about the time it takes to have a cup of coffee. I mean, that's a leap in productivity that can fundamentally change your entire workshop's output.
Okay, that all sounds great, but what does it actually mean for your wallet? Let's talk about the real dollars and cents, the return on investment. When you actually break down the numbers on a typical project, the savings are just staggering. Using the old methods, you might be spending around $290 on supplies and labor. With a laser, that cost plummets to just over $60. And the biggest chunk of that savings, by far, is your time.
That is a direct, hard cash saving of over $200, and that's not for a week's work. That's on every single project you do. Imagine if your shop does just one of these a week. The numbers start to get very big, very quickly.
In fact, for a reasonably busy shop that's finishing just a few projects a week, the machine can completely pay for itself in as little as 4 to 6 months. And after that, all those savings go straight into your pocket, straight to your bottom line.
So, maybe you're thinking this sounds pretty good. What do you actually need to know to get this technology set up in your own workshop?
All right, there is an upfront investment. A professional-grade system that's right for a restoration business starts at around the $6,000 mark. Now, I know that might sound like a lot, but it becomes a much easier number to swallow when you remember that incredibly fast ROI we just talked about. Choosing the right power level is super important. And as you can see here, you probably don't need some giant industrial monster. For most furniture and antique jobs, a portable pulsed laser somewhere in that 200 to 500 watt range is the sweet spot. It's the perfect mix of power and precision for the work you do.
And when you actually go shopping for a machine, these are the features you absolutely have to look for. Adjustable settings give you the control you need for different finishes. A red light positioning system helps you be super accurate.
An ergonomic design is going to save your arm on those long jobs, and trust me, a safety interlock system is completely non-negotiable.
So, at the end of the day, the conclusion is pretty clear. Laser varnish removal isn't just some new fancy tool. It's a fundamentally better way to do your job. It's faster, it's way safer for the valuable pieces you're restoring, and it makes your business more profitable and even a little more eco-friendly.
So I guess the only real question left is, what could you do with an extra 6 hours on every single project? Would you take on more clients? Tackle bigger, more ambitious restorations? What would that mean for the future of your business? The possibilities are pretty exciting to think about.